from a business standpoint, I mean, pickleball is becoming a multi-billion-dollar industry extremely fast. Millions and millions of pickleball players around the world. The rate at which people change their paddles, the rate at which people believe that the paddles affect their ability to play at a high level. The more competitive the sport is becoming, people want elite pro gear, and I felt that there was a gap in the market. I have a product background, having worked in Silicon Valley. My co-founder is a hedge fund finance guy. We put our minds together and thought that we could really make an excellent quality product using the best materials available. Really tried to invest in the product so it helps players elevate their game. I think the foundation of that is the materials that we use. And you asked, how did we come up with the name Electrum?
Yes.
And Electrum is actually an alloy made of gold and silver. So that is what inspired us. The most precious materials out there, or some of the most precious materials out there, when you combine them, what a powerful combination. And we kind of reflect that with the gold color of our brand. And we put that against a matte black. It's that, that Electrum, gold and silver, pursuit of the best materials possible that kind of inspired the name. And it kind of sounds cool as well. And then the look is totally different, right? We barely advertise ourselves on it. It's totally black. You just see the Electrum Pro model name right at the bottom with our logo, because we want the focus to be on the players. We want the focus to be on you guys. Our paddle and our name will get popular because the product speaks for itself and because it's changing people's games.
What's next for you guys?
I think at the heart of it, it's continuing to innovate and making the best products available, right? Helping people really lift their game through our paddle, and you continue to make the best products. But the other is take pickleball to places it has not been yet. Pickleball is going to be an international phenomenon.
Where can I go find out more about Electrum Pickleball?
So you can go to www.electrumpickleball.com. It's our site where you can have access to all of our products. There are not only paddles there, there's some great gear there, so feel free to help yourselves. We'll be continuing to add new products. One thing that I didn't want to mention is that our second paddle is on the horizon, and it's going to be quite interesting. I'm not going to give any secrets away. We will see each other very soon. Thank you so much for the opportunity. You are a gentleman and a scholar, and we'll be talking soon enough.
You got it. Thanks, Moheeth. Take care, man. All right, what's going on, guys? This is Scott Golden. I've got Moheeth Alvi joining me live. What's going on, Moheeth?
Hey, how you doing, Scott? Pleasure to be with you again.
Moheeth, that was the interview that you and I did back almost a year ago. Isn't that right? About a year ago?
Yeah, I actually just saw my lips move so much and continuously talking. But yeah, it was about a year ago, and pretty good timing for us to chat again and talk about what's been going on, because surely there's been a lot of change, a lot of momentum for us, and certainly I can tell for you as well.
Yeah, it's been a great year that's passed. I know there's been a lot of personal changes and business changes for both of us. Let's start with you. What's been going on over the last year with you? I mean, has anything changed personally or even from a business standpoint?
Well, I guess personally, the biggest change is obviously adapting to working from home and the new normal that we find ourselves in as a country, as a community around the world. And that's been, I guess, challenging for a lot of people. For me, it means a lot more time with my wife, which is really fantastic. So we've been enjoying that. From a business-wise, it's been an extremely busy time with the growth of Electrum and stewarding our journey and being a leader for the pickleball community. And the milestones that we will talk about through this interview has really been what is keeping us most occupied.
For anybody that didn't get to watch the part one interview that we had, we talked about a lot, we covered a lot, but obviously a lot's changed in this last year. So we're going to dig a little deeper and dive into that. I know I've got some questions for you. But before we get into all that, I want people to get to know you a little better from a personal standpoint. And I think when I do these interviews, Moheeth, I want people to really engage and really, I think, just become part of the interview. So I'm sure a lot of people will be asking questions along the way as we evolve this interview. But I'm always fascinated with people's names. Names, I think, are very unique. They're very specific to each person in this world. And Moheeth Alvi is something that kind of stands out. That's not your run-of-the-mill name. So I personally am curious, and I'm sure if I am, other people as well are curious, where does that name come from, and is there any significance behind your name?
Interesting question. So funnily enough, my grandfather is the one that chose my name. He actually chose my siblings' names too. It was kind of his right to do that, if you will. Moheeth has two meanings. The first meaning is all-encompassing, and the second meaning is ocean. Those are very large qualities that I cannot really associate with my own personality, but I love the ocean. I like to think about things from all angles, so it's a meaning that I strive to live up to. And I guess I have my granddad and my parents to thank for the uniqueness of that name.
I love Electrum's colors because I'm a big fan of black and gold, how they represent stuff. So talk about that for a second.
Sure. So I think I'll start with the name. Electrum is the name of an alloy that is made up of gold and silver. And when Mike, my co-founder, and I were thinking about names, we wanted the name to resonate the brilliance of the materials that we were going to use to eventually construct the paddle. And Electrum seemed that perfect combination of gold and silver, which are rare materials and are advanced materials. And the name sounded really cool. And we love the color gold. And against the matte black, it had a very interesting and very stark contrast that I think is lended well for a brand that kind of stands apart from your regular pickleball paddle manufacturers. And I guess we're a Silicon Valley born company. We like the iPhone matte black look, and that also kind of informed our design theory. And just continuing to double down on that superiority of materials was something that we wanted to incorporate in the name, and that's part of the reason why we went with it. And it sounds great.
Yeah, I'm not sponsored with Electrum. I just love the black and gold look. I also love the clean look of what you're talking about with the matte black and then the gold representation. I don't want to ever degrade any other companies or whatever, but I want to talk about how I think that you guys really separated yourself within the market by going with just a clean, smooth look instead of being too busy, right? I think there's a fine balance and a fine line, and I really think you guys hit the nail on the head when you decided to not only come up with a name called Electrum, which is high quality materials, but then you combine that with the sleek, a good look of just the matte black with the gold and didn't get too crazy with it.
Yeah, so there are a few things that kind of informed that. One is that the color black, it's actually a dark space gray. And what that does when you don't paint over it is that you can see the fine grains of the texture that are on the paddle, which itself is a beautiful thing as the front of your paddle. Also, we want the focus to be on the players, and the quality of the paddle stands out in and of itself. And we didn't necessarily believe that having our name front and center or super crazy designs was a way we needed to go after to make the paddle stand out on the court. And we thought that players and their better game was a good enough differentiator for us. And that's why we wanted the focus to be on the player and not necessarily the paddle. And that was the design we went with for the first paddle. It may evolve a little for the second paddle, but we definitely want simplicity to be one of the main things and qualities of the overall design and look. And we're very inspired by Apple and the iPhone, and I guess that's just being a product of being based out here in San Francisco. But we wanted to bring that sort of design into the pickleball space because it was definitely missing when we evaluated the landscape of designs and paddles out there.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, we're going to give away an Electrum Pro pickleball paddle at the end of the show. So for everybody watching, please like, share, comment, ask your questions for Moheeth, and stay tuned till the end because we've got a couple things. We've got a special announcement towards the end, and we're also going to find a way to give away that paddle. I still think that you guys just really nailed it with that. And I appreciate you giving the insight to that and kind of some background on why you went with that, because I think everybody in a business space has to figure out and identify what they're all about and what their motivation is. And for you guys, I think it was very clear when you came into the sport of pickleball, what you are, what you're all about, and what you're going to accomplish. And so far, just watching your journey, Moheeth, and what you guys have been doing in that pickleball space, I see no reason that you guys are going to slow down and go anywhere but up.
Thank you, Scott. That's very, very kind of you.
And I know that you're a busy guy. I know we're quarantined right now, but I still know you got a lot going on. I don't want to take too much of your time. So let's dig right into some of these questions that I've got. It's been a year since I've had you on the show. So remind everybody why you decided to get into the pickleball business in the first place. When you were thinking about continuing on, has that reason changed? Why or why not?
Great question, Scott. Great question. So the short answer is that both my co-founder, Mike, and I are fascinated by the sport and the community. So Mike and I both went to Cornell together, and I was first introduced to the sport by him and his parents, who play in a community in Rochester, New York. And I really fell in love with the game, and more importantly, the community, and saw the dedication with athletes gather so frequently to play. And the trajectory was apparent and obvious. And as a community, it's a life-changing thing for many athletes. And it's our objective to be a leader and to help support and steward this community. But to go a level deeper and answer why the greatest thing about pickleball is in fact the community, it's the social benefit that the sport produces. And as I mentioned, last year, unlike tennis, squash, or even your classic American sports, right? Football, baseball, basketball, these are sports that the average American really enjoys and gets to watch, but not necessarily enjoy playing throughout their lives. You can certainly try, and many people do, but it's not easy, and it gets harder to maintain that excellence as you grow older, and it's harder on your body. Pickleball is unique, and I credit this to the infinite wisdom of its creators in the fact that it's a sport the common person can enjoy playing throughout their life. And for the most part, your skills and game continue to trend upwards for a longer time. And the rules, the equipment, the size of the court, and the basic mechanics of the game lend itself to a sport that is accessible, mentally and physically engaging, allows tenure and longevity. I mean, your player starts. I mean, there's some players who begin before they're even 10 years old. And you have players on the court that are 90 plus, and it's truly amazing. That doesn't happen in any other sport. But most importantly, it is extremely competitive. And there's no feeling in the world compared to when your mind and your body are working together as one and you're competing against others. And as human beings, we enjoy that sensation so much. And the fact that pickleball has addicted so many people throughout the country and also slowly the world, it's a testimony to how pickleball enables these feelings. And on top of that, it's social. It gets you out of your home. You stay mentally, physically healthy, agile. Millions of people around the country are having a blast. And at Electrum, we think the growth of pickleball and the pickleball community is one of the greatest things happening in America, frankly. And we want to be an asset to this community. We want to be an asset to the sport. And that's why we got into this business. And after a year, we're even more convinced by this reason. And we want to continue in that effort of being a leader.
Man, that's great. You speak so well and you break down the goals and the vision of your company so well. This is why I enjoy having guys like you on my show, because it really gives the people of pickleball an opportunity to kind of dig a little deeper with you and have you be a little vulnerable, have me ask some questions about your company, the good and the bad, and kind of have the ability to break down Electrum Pickleball from all different angles. And I love the fact that you're willing to be vulnerable there and allow people to ask you questions. I enjoy these type of interviews for that reason.
And hey, thanks for giving us the opportunity, because we love to tell our story. We love to talk about the pickleball mission as a whole, even on top of the efforts that our company is making. But I strongly believe, and as a company, we believe that it is really one of the greatest American inventions. If you look back at the last 75 years, and frankly, not enough people are paying attention. And maybe that's a good thing for us, because it gives us more time to create an advantage and be a leader in the space. But it's such a positive thing for people's lives. And I just think about the people and demographic that play. It's amazing that these people have such a positive alternative than staying at home. And you can be with your friends, you can be with people you've met for the first time, and still participate in something that's extremely mentally active, but also really physically active. And I've been watching this ESPN documentary, The Last Dance, about Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and you hear him talk about the sensation and thrill he gets by allowing his body and mind to work as one in a competitive environment. And that should not be an exclusive feeling for top athletes. It should be something that you and I can experience. My dad can experience. People can play with their kids and their grandkids, and you can experience that together. I don't think there's many things out there like pickleball that allow that. So I continue to be fascinated by it. I continue to be fascinated by the people and the friendliness and the inviting nature of the community. And so every day we're reassured that we got into something that really is special.
Absolutely. And I think one of the words that you used just now is the word addiction. It's such an addicting sport. Yeah. I don't know what it is about the sport of pickleball, but I've played all kinds of sports growing up. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pickleball players. And the one word that is common amongst all the pickleball people is the word that it's so addicting. And can you pinpoint why that is exactly?
I would attribute it to the fact that as human beings, we love to be physically active. I think that's part of our DNA, and especially when the mind can supplement that physical activity with a layer of strategy and if you put those things in a competitive environment and you're competing and trying to beat yourself and to play well against others, I think that itself make for very addictive fundamentals. And then the fact that you get good very quickly. The curve to become an improved player is quick. And game 2, game 3, start to see that you're way better than you were in game 1. So that easy and natural evolution for the average player that doesn't need to have the best hand-eye coordination in the world, and that quick enjoyment they start to get allows them to have that thrill. And then you play with people you know and you don't know, and you're having a great time. And before you know it, you've had a workout, and maybe you've made even a few friends. I don't think that there are many other things out there that can give you all of those ingredients, so to say. And I think that makes for a very addictive game. And it's not super physically strenuous. Unlike tennis, where the rackets are heavy, the ball bounces super high. You can be in average shape, and this can help you get even into better shape, but you can still enjoy. So it's got this great incentive to it from all angles, and I think that's why it's so addictive. And frankly, you don't need to be rich. You don't need to be a member of a club. You just need to have a few friends and some open space. And so many of the states throughout the United States have public courts. So, there are very little barriers. So I think that is those are all the contributing factors to the addictive nature of pickleball. And the competitive aspect is obviously a key thing to that, right? Because it's not only easy and, natural to get good at, but you can still feel competitive, and human beings, naturally enjoy competitive environments. So, it creates a big forum for people to experience that.
I love that. And Moheeth, one of the common phrases that I hear within the pickleball community is when you play and finish a game, it's one more.
One more.
Somebody will say, I need to go. And then they'll finish that last game and say, I got to go. And they'll say, come on, one more.
I mean, you can't even play one more because there's someone who's kept their paddle on the court and they're waiting to get on. So you're normally waiting your turn.
I love it. Down in Naples, because I moved down to that area back in July of 2019. And one of the things I noticed was people will play 7 days a week down there until they turn the lights off. And the lights usually go off about 10 p.m. So if that gives you any indication of how addicting this sport is, they start at daybreak and they will play till 10 p.m. at night. And that to me is a true testament of a sport that is fun and exhilarating. It's competitive. But I think the biggest cohesion for all of it is that it's the addicting part of the sport itself, but it's also the people that keep you coming back day after day, game after game.
That's right. Absolutely. The community, I think, is the strongest part. And, it's funny. I was at the West Coast Regionals, which we were the title sponsor for, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But just keying in on that inviting and social nature, I was with an ambassador for a competing company, and I won't take their name. But, we just met for the first time. We bonded over our love for pickleball, and she loved the reasons why we got into it. She was recommending other people to try out our paddle, and this was an ambassador for the competition. So it just speaks to the warm nature, friendliness, and inclusivity of, your average player. And that's a really amazing, beautiful thing. Not only as a player, but someone who's participating from a business standpoint. It's a joy to be in this space. So that's really great.
Incredible. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's circle back around to this. Tell us a little bit about your journey since last year. It looks like your company's grown some. Obviously, I've seen the growth. And honestly, Moheeth, it's hard to imagine that you guys haven't been around for 10 plus years because of the growth that you've seen in the last year or so. So go ahead and break that down for us.
Sure. And I'll start by that the journey is long ahead of us. And while we have been fortunate to have had a successful year, we definitely see this as a long-term endeavor. But to break down, our journey so far, let's start with a reminder on how it all really began. And this was back in August, September of 2017. I actually just got married a month prior to that. And Mike and I, having agreed that we both love pickleball, took up the challenge to create a paddle that would really change people's games. And I think this was the most important part of the story. We both went to Cornell and chose careers where data was everything. And so we tried to take as much of a scientific approach in our challenge as possible. And we collected so much data. We did so much different research about how players from different places, different parts of the competitive spectrum were using their paddle for different types of shots. And we gathered a bunch of intelligence that we incorporated into what ended up being the perfect design for a paddle. And while we are releasing our second paddle pretty soon, we firmly believe that we could take all of the most key components that a player could want in their paddle and put it into one product. And that's why when we launched in February of 2019, that's when we started selling for the first time. So, we've only been on the market like 15 months. We launched with one paddle, and we continue to double down on that because we still think it gives such a variety of benefits to different types of players. But breaking down the growth since you and I last talked, our online US footprint has grown significantly. We were popular initially with a few states, but now we have much more of a national coverage. And frankly, we even in a few units started our first international sales, which is really awesome. And we've started to gradually begin our presence within the United Kingdom. In September of 2019, we had the great benefit of partnering with the USAPA and being the title sponsor for the Western Regionals in Orange County, California. And that was, I think, the second or third biggest event in pickleball that year. And so far, we had more than 1,300 people, and we were the only paddle sponsor. And one of the unique things we did at the Western Regionals was the championship court, we repainted that court completely in our colors of black and gold. And that was extremely eye-catching, and it almost created this buzz from people that weren't even at the event, but were seeing online around this beautiful, dedicated pickleball court in our colors. So it was a great marketing event for us. And then the partnership with the USAPA folks that were running the event, Steve Sidwell, Mark Pfeiffer, George Avery, these guys are incredible individuals and assets to the pickleball sport. So their partnership and our ability to be at the event and talk to 13,000 plus people about our company, about our paddle, was a huge contributor and driver for our growth. And we bought a good number of paddles, and we sold out. So we didn't know what to expect, and we sold out so fast. By the last day, people were fighting to buy demos. And that was really an incredible experience because we never really were at an event of that size and with that position as being the title sponsor. And so it was, flesh and blood communication with the community. And I think that had a long lasting effect. But I think, breaking down the growth, by far the most important factor was our partnership with Pickleball Central. And they're partners of this event as well, and they're a real leader in the space. And I think that Pickleball Central has not only great founders and owners, but the current leadership, especially Edward Hector. These guys are far-thinking people, and they have invited us into their community, and the distribution and eyeballs that we have benefited from by being listed on Pickleball Central has been fantastic. And they have a really unique way of selling and being an asset to the community by giving players recommendations on whatever type of paddle they're looking for their specific play, and making people feel extremely confident about their purchases. And the fact they recognized a great product and potential in us was a huge boost to our credibility and to our success as a business. So great shout out and thank you to all the folks at Pickleball Central. And then Nationals was an incredible event as well. So those were some of the, I guess, big milestones in our journey so far.
I love it. And speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up. You and I got to meet briefly at the 2019 USAPA Nationals held in Palm Springs, California at Indian Wells Tennis Garden, which is a phenomenal facility in and of its own right. But tell me about your experience and how that was, given it was your first time.
Yeah, first of all, it's been a lifelong dream to just be at Indian Wells Gardens. I've been following tennis since I was a kid and have seen so many legendary matches at that venue. So being able to be there was a great feeling in and of itself. But to see an event of that caliber, of that professionalism, of that magnitude in terms of the commercial presence or the commercial relevance of that event, but also the number of players and people from all around the country and people that had traveled from Canada and from Europe to be there, it was an unbelievable experience. I mean, that electricity in the air was something that I did not expect, frankly. And we got to participate in the capacity of an official vendor within the Pickleball Central Pavilion. So it was an amazing vantage that I got to have firsthand by being right next to all of these competitors that we've been studying, and been looking up to, frankly, for the last few years. And so we were, on the right-hand side was Engaged Pickleball. Frankly, we stood toe-to-toe with Robert Elliott, and I spent almost, 5-6 days throughout the event just learning from him and being next to him, but frankly, selling against them. And there was Vulcan ahead of me, there was Paddle Tech, and all of the big guys. And to be in that environment and to be in that company meant that we had arrived at a certain milestone, which was very significant for us. But as an event, it was extremely successful because as far as sales in that pavilion were concerned, within Pickleball Central, I do believe we were the number one single product version in terms of sales. And so we got to get our paddles in the hands of hundreds of people. And again, it was a sold out event. And the responses and feedback that we got about how it improved people's games from existing customers to new customers was incredible. Pickleball Central had almost a batting cage or a testing cage where people could hold the product, try it out, and then make a decision if that was something that they liked. And frankly, our biggest goal is to get the product and paddle into as many people's hands as possible, because we know the conversion rate is super high, because you feel it, it's extremely comfortable, the balance is incredible, you realize that the sweet spot is almost throughout the entire face, it feels so natural in your hand, and then the control, precision, accuracy, and power you get from the paddle really shocks people. And the fact that we were able to give so many prospective customers and other players that awareness was amazing. And to get feedback from people on what they want to see next, it was an amazing, amazing event. And then to see matches from the world's best players play at their top game, incredible. I just wish I could play more at that event, but unfortunately I was tied to the sales booth, but that was a great experience too. So I really enjoyed it. We got to meet so many great people, and it was awesome to meet you. I wish we actually got the chance to play together, but when the world resumes to normalcy and we meet again at a tournament, I look forward to correcting that.
Absolutely. Actually, on a quick side note, I saw that the PPA just announced that they will be holding a tournament in California in August. So it looks like that might be the first. They said in the post that they got the thumbs up from that facility to do the tournament. So if August is when that is, there might be a good chance I'll be out there. I'm not sure. So
yeah, we'll see. I mean, things are certainly tenuous right now. I'm glad that the PPA, which by the way also has great leadership, is trying to continue to push to get people out there. But things are evolving, and I think it's a very fluid situation. So we will see.
Absolutely. All right, this is one of my favorite questions because I'm big on building long-term relationships and understanding how a partnership works between a player and a company, and how that fit needs to work and be cohesive for both parties. In part one, with the interview with you, I asked you about what do you look for in a player when you sponsor someone, and you gave some in-depth insight into why Electrum picks the type of players that they do. So if you didn't get to watch that, guys, go back. I'll put the link in the description of this interview, and you can go back and watch this and what he talks about. But my favorite thing to talk about is sponsorship and players. I see that your team's grown in talent. Tell us about who you've gotten on your team recently and what that's all about.
Definitely. And before I get into who we've added, which is pretty exciting, our philosophy in the sponsorship domain, vertical, you can sponsor different players and give them money, and they'll wear your t-shirts and they'll use your product. And that's definitely one way you can go about it. But we have been very intentional in the players that we have chosen to partner with and sponsor. And I really do think of it more as a partnership than as, you're just a sponsored player. We have tried to find people that are all in on our mission and our vision for the sport and for the game. And so that initial commitment to the community, to excellence in product and performance is a fundamental quality that any person we bring onto the roster needs to have. So you can see that in our selection of players. And we treat our team as family, and these people contribute to Electrum's growth not only by being sponsored players and by wearing our apparel and using our products, but they help us in different aspects of our business. And they are excited to go above and beyond just the scope of being a player and just being a contributing member on the courts, but outside the courts, when we strategize, when we think about new products, when we plan for events such as this, we're taking advantage of the additive mental and physical skills of our team and allowing them all to be a significant member of the overall success in our journey. So it's a very holistic criteria that we use to identify the players that we want to be with, and players that are thinking ahead, that can see the sport as it is today, but also work towards where the sport should be going to in the future. So one of the individuals that has blown my mind, and I'm so glad we made this decision, is Dane Gingrich. And I think this individual is exceptional for many reasons. Not only is Dane a tremendous, extremely skilled player, and he is phenomenal and a pleasure to watch on the courts. But for viewers out there, Dane has a mental fitness business and is a mental fitness coach, where he talks about the importance of keeping your mind sharp and strong, and how that is one of the most important ingredients to how you play on the courts physically as an athlete. And that concentration on the mental component and the importance your attitude plays towards your game and towards how you think about your life and how you think about everyday challenges is such an amazing philosophy that if we could support him to not only spread his pickleball thesis, but also his life thesis, then we thought that we'd be doing a benefit to the larger community. So I definitely recommend people to check Dane out and to check his podcasts, his videos, his mental fitness regime, and also his tips on how to be a better pickleball player. And the COVID environment has been a depressant and been a challenging thing for many people to experience and go through. And throughout this time, I have seen Dane really lift people up and lift the community up with the content that he's been putting out there to stay positive, to make out of this time the best possible experience you can have by staying mentally and physically positive in the different avenues you do have available in this restricted environment. So, I'm a big fan of Dane. And he's a 5.9 player. He's one of the top senior gold men's player in the world right now. So, and I think he has a huge journey ahead himself. So I think he's going to continue to dominate and be his position for a long time. Second player that I will mention is Lauren Stratman. This girl is unbelievable. She is a key player from Santa Barbara, and I think one of the rising stars of California. And quite frankly, I think the national team will also begin to see this. But she is a advocate in her own community and spreading the pickleball journey and love throughout Santa Barbara and Southern California, and herself coaching so many people. And she was originally a tennis player and has now been converted into pickleball and wants to spread the mission, spread the word, and spread the talent throughout her community. So again, when we saw her attitude and the benefit she wants to give to her people, we were like, well, that's very in sync with our mission. And because she's such a talented player herself, we thought that she'd be a great addition. And then lastly, I want to talk about Gabe, who you interviewed, just a couple of weeks ago. This guy is super talented, and I think that he is one of the underrated and yet to be widely known men's singles elite players. And I think that's going to become more and more obvious. And his performance in each subsequent tournament and his commitment to excellence and that positive attitude he has is superb. So shout outs to these three guys, but the larger Electrum team, each and every single individual on them is talented, is committed, is motivated, and we are lucky to have them on our team. And they've been a big driver for our success. And I wouldn't certainly be here talking to you without them. So I want to take the moment to thank them all.
That's incredible. I think you have a very special team. I just want to say about all of your players, they're all fantastic players. They're all fantastic people. But Dane in particular, I feel like has a special niche within the pickleball community. And I think that was a huge signing for you guys, not just from a player standpoint, but from what you touched on, which is what he brings to the table outside of just being on the pickleball court. And clearly, if you've ever watched Dane play, he plays with intensity, passion, and drive like I've never seen before. But he also brings a different element to this game, which is undervalued in the mental side of the game and how important the top athletes need to be, right, Moheeth? And so for you to team up with a guy like Dane, I feel like is what I would say like a power couple. Like you guys are a power team together, and you guys are going to do big things. I feel like with just what he brings and then what you bring combined can do powerful things in our sport.
Yeah, he's totally great.
That's awesome. Now I want to switch gears to a question that's going to make you possibly a little more vulnerable, but I think this is important for you to talk about, because I think when you do interviews, if you only talk about the good and the positive, then it comes off a little bit maybe either shallow or surface level. But we want to dig a little deeper, and I think there's no better time than right now with COVID-19 and the quarantine and this unprecedented time in our world and our sport. I want to know what have been the challenges that you've experienced as a pickleball company.
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think that if we didn't talk about it, it's almost a deception that it was challenging, right? And it started with early disruptions to our supply chain, and it's impacted manufacturers in different industries throughout the world. But we definitely felt it because December and early Jan was our ramp up time. We had just come out of the strong wins that Nationals gave us. We were really trying hard to scale inventory because frankly, we didn't predict the overwhelming demand we did enjoy for our product, and we needed to scale up our supply. And that really became hard when COVID shut the world down almost, and trade became harder. We were working on improving on the quality of our paddle. We had a small stint where some of our units came out in a way that we didn't want them to, but we were soon to correct that issue, and we figured it out very quickly. But the timing was not great because we were trying to scale. We were trying to invest in more inventory. We were trying to invest in increasing our capacity. And COVID kind of threw a wrench in that, and then also had a pretty negative effect on demand and sales. And as a young business, obviously that was hard. And the lockdown was unprecedented, right? And I think back about when humanity has dealt with something similar. It's the Spanish flu, right? When millions of people died, you had a virus that no one could really understand. And if you look at pictures from the 1920s, or I forget exactly what time period that was, but early 1900s when that happened, it looks like today: social distancing, masks, etc. But the difference is that none of the people that experienced or went through that are with us today. So as a society, and as an economy, we've been scratching our heads as to how to respond. And big companies like Uber, Airbnb, especially being in the Valley and seeing all these layoffs happen, it's scary, right? And people's wallets have been hurt. People's retirement savings have been hurt. Stock market has been, struggling. And now we see some positive momentum, but all of these impact a business like ours. It impacts our ability to do business development. But I think the advantage we had is that because we're young, we're nimble, and we have a lot of growth ahead of us, we were able to take this downtime to double down and invest on our inventory, on quality, on our second paddle, and to figure out some of these challenges. And the breathing room, quite frankly, did end up working out for us, and we're coming out of this a lot stronger. But if people are not at tournaments and there are less events for us to sponsor, it slows down our ability to be out there and to give our message. So while I continue to believe that making people feel secure, safe, and comfortable in resuming playing is the most important thing, we hope that it happens sooner rather than later. But yeah, it's definitely been a challenge for us, and I think we're poised now to start to trend upwards again. But that was a moment of difficulty. But we have a great team. I have a great co-founder and a great partner and a great community that supports us. And people like you, Pickleball Central has continued to support us. So those are the key things that we had in our bag, and we're optimistic looking ahead.
I love the perspective that you've taken about the downtime, as you call it. But did you, as a company, see a direct impact in sales strictly because people weren't able to go out for a period of about a month and a half to 2 months? I mean, did that directly impact you?
100%. I mean, luckily, I will say again that we have a really great partner in Pickleball Central, and I think few businesses have responded as well, as quickly as them. So we had their support, and that was really good. But yeah, direct sales took an impact, and it's a no-brainer. If any company that says it didn't, they're misleading you, because if there are less people on the courts, less tournaments to play at, you're not going to be as anxious to switch to your next paddle, or as the urgency of getting your next paddle is reduced, and you think that you can delay that expenditure because income is fixed right now, and in some cases it's not predictable because a lot of people have lost their jobs and they want to make sure that every dollar they spend is smart. And so that has impacted us, but we begin to see positivity now, and sales are beginning to resume to normal levels. And in fact, the last couple of weeks, we've seen a surge to some even higher levels than pre-COVID. So I think these are all positive signs that things are moving in the correct direction. But yeah, we did see some softness that's undeniable.
For sure. Perhaps the recent growth was because people heard that you were going to be on my show, and so they just started buying up all the Electrum paddles.
Hey man, if that's the case, I want to be on your show again and again.
I love it. We'll do it weekly then, right? Along the same lines, let's talk about COVID-19 a little more. What are your thoughts on how we are going to come out of this as a community, and what position has Electrum been put in by the current environment? So you already talked about the second part of that question, but let's just talk about that first part. How do you think we're going to overcome this as a community, and how are we going to come out of this?
Right. Great question. I've been thinking about this myself and talking to different people in the space. Look, I'm not a forecaster or an epidemiologist, but I think the world is still in a wait and see mood. There is a disparity in current situations across geographies. Some states are doing better than others. Maybe the PPA and the Pardos chose California because it's performed better in terms of infection rates and death rates. And so maybe some states or parts of the world are more ready to get out of our shelter in place state of affairs. But it's still a serious concern in other places. And I think there's a lot of hesitation socially. Frankly, I think that large gatherings are going to be one of the last things that become normal again. So that is something that will affect us because it means that tournaments will not happen at the pace or at the frequency that they did pre-COVID. But pickleball is an extremely social community, and we also believe it's possible to play the game and respect a new norm. And I've seen some really creative ways of how players have started to adapt to new safety measures. So players serving with their own marked balls, playing in gloves and masks, not tapping paddle after the game, limiting the amount of people that you play with, players in the group themselves practicing social distancing. I think there is a responsible way to start to restart. But that being said, the larger people in our community need to be careful. And so we will not recommend them to not prioritize their own safety and their own health. I think the introduction of a vaccine will obviously, help things and expedite things tremendously. But while there's been recent news that we might be closer to a vaccine, that's yet to be seen. I guess I'll end the answer by saying that unlike other activities that are social, pickleball definitely promotes your health. You're fit, you stay fit, you stay mentally healthy, and those are big factors for your overall wellness. And so I think pickleball is a health positive thing. We just need to figure out how we can be socially responsible as a community and make people and the community feel secure while still enjoying the wellness benefits that it has to offer.
Very well said. And I love that you pointed out that you're not an expert in that field, but that you are willing to give some of your sound advice to people, which I just listening, I think you gave some excellent advice to people. Be cautious. I agree with you that in certain parts, it's not as the pandemic is not affecting it as harshly. And so they're going to be over the next few days and weeks, we're going to see certain parts of the US and the world open back up and start to somewhat live a normal life again, but don't get confused. There are still precautions that we need to take. And so thank you for touching on that. I'd love to switch gears a little bit now. My full team of researchers dug a little deeper here, and I heard that you closed a round of funding recently. Congratulations, by the way. That's huge as a business. Tell us a little more about that and how that's played out.
Yeah, so we've been extremely fortunate to partner with a veteran business professional and an extremely successful entrepreneur in his own rights. The gentleman's name is Kevin McCarthy from North Carolina, and Kevin's a passionate pickleball player and extremely smart and intelligent individual, and has grown and sold businesses himself. So he saw a lot of potential in Electrum, and frankly, we met for the first time in person at Nationals. And his doubles partner, Emily Taylor, is one of our first customers and one of our biggest supporters through our journey over the last 15 months. And she introduced me to Kevin. And we instantly got on the same page about the potential, the trajectory of pickleball, and our ability to be a leader in the space. And the journey is quite interesting with Kevin because, he started as a customer and he used our paddle for many months before we had ever interacted together. And when we met at Nationals, he told me about how much he loved the product and how he saw in his community how Electrum Pros were changing people's games. And so I think it's an amazing story of, converting a customer into an investor, and how many people can say that they have such a good product that not only can they convince someone to take out money from their pocket and be a customer and buy the product, but then to go 5 steps ahead and then invest in the company as well. And actually, we closed that round of funding during COVID. And so his confidence and belief in us is ultimate testimony to the fact that we do have a winning product and a winning company. And his desire to get involved, even at an extremely tenuous and uncertain time, means strong wind for our sales. And his intelligence as a business professional, as a mentor, and getting his strategic guidance means that we have a very strong partner. It also means that Electrum is capitalized and has the resources and funds to continue to compete and succeed. And so we'll be using that investment to invest in inventory, to invest in our superior technology, invest in our brand equity, our brand presence, and also in future products, and most notably our second paddle, which is also going to be a game changer. So it's great timing, it's great validity, it's great confidence for us to close this investment and then to use it to propel our future and our success. So I will take the opportunity to thank Kevin for his trust, and that's going to be a big milestone for us, and certainly we're pleased about it.
Oh, that's incredible. And anybody that's ever tried to grow a business, as you grow and see growing pains, one of the big things is capital and funding, and that's huge to be able to secure that. So congratulations on that. And I just want to throw this out there for anybody watching. If you want to potentially invest in Electrum, I would encourage you to reach out to Moheeth. He's always, I'm sure, open to hearing what you have to say and how you might want to help them grow as a business. So I just want to throw that out there. Next question.
Scott.
Oh, you're welcome. He did not pay me to say that. I just wanted to put that out there for you guys. I'm just kidding. What are the next big milestones for Electrum? Is there a new paddle coming out?
Yeah. So when we created our first paddle, the goal was to cover as much of the pickleball community in terms of different types of players that need a different type of paddle to perform at their best. And we certainly felt that there was a more singles-focused player and persona that we needed to cater more to with a slightly longer paddle. And so we've been hard at work at developing this second paddle, and we are now in the testing phases, and we'll be soon submitting to the USAPA for their approval. And we think this is also going to be a game changer. we've maintained the core aspects of using superior carbon fiber for the surfaces. Again, carbon fiber is the #1 material you can use for sports equipment and for performance, whether that be in F1 cars or if you're building a spacecraft and you're NASA. It is the #1 material you go to because it's lightweight, it has immense tensile strength, and the power it gives you is really amazing. And then our proprietary texture, it grips the ball and pockets it in this way where you just have to think about where on the court you want to place, and the paddle will help you guide your shot right there. And now that you have this extra reach with the longer paddle, we think that this is going to allow singles players with a lot more coverage, and people who want that coverage in doubles game as well, that optionality to have a little bit more length added to their game. And that's going to be key in making those hard to reach shots that end up being the most critical points in the game sometimes. So we're very excited about it. And we're going to stick to our fundamentals and our overall product thesis and ideology, but it should have some differentiating factors about it. So to all those watching, look out for that. I can't pinpoint a exact timeline because these things vary with the approval process, etc. But hopefully we'll be helping out the community with the second product pretty soon.
That's great. I'm glad you touched on the second paddle coming out. I knew that when we talked the prior time that was already a conversation that you were having with your staff and your researchers. So I'm glad to hear that that's in the works.
Yeah. I mean, obviously COVID slows things down, right? And we wish that we were in a position that was more ready. And yes, we talked about this last year and it was already in the ideation phase, but at that point, we kind of pivoted to understand that there was more to be had with the one paddle that we had, and we could invest resources in building the company in other important ways. But I think now is the time where there's enough awareness about the paddle that we have right now, and that we need to offer a differentiated option. One thing I will stress on is that we're not like other paddle companies that will produce 5 paddles every year and just call them something else and try to gimmick sales that way. When we do produce something, it will be with immense technology and research behind it, and it will do something different for our players. So that's the focus. Less is more, and quality is better than quantity.
Absolutely. And you couldn't see the question that was asked, but one of the viewers, she asked, would there be different colors coming out in the second paddle? I don't know if you can talk on that, but she may have missed that early part where you talked about the foundation of your color schemes and the way you go about doing business. I think that's fair to ask that question, but I think it's also important to know what your foundation is with that and why you choose the colors you choose.
Yes. So I'm going to answer this without giving too much away. And definitely you will continue to see the simplicity of design as one of the hallmarks of this second paddle. You already have an idea of the colors we have an affinity for. So perhaps those will inform the future design, and going for that sleek space stack look will be, I think, an important component. That being said, we are design forward thinking. So if there are ideas that this contributor, this person who wrote in has, we're open to hear them, and we have gotten amazing feedback on design already. And I think this second paddle will be a little bit different, and you'll see a little bit more of a stark and eye-catching design than the first one. But yeah, we're open to your thoughts and ideas and feedback. It's not locked down just yet. Unfortunately, I can't say too much more, but you guys have an idea of the kind of looks we go for. So feel free to recommend something to us. I think some of the best ideas come from the community itself. So we would love to engage in direct conversations for players who think that they have some good thoughts for us. So thank you for asking that question, and maybe we can talk more about it directly.
I love it. We're going to continue asking a couple more questions. I still have a couple that I want to ask you, but I think this is a great time to do the paddle giveaway trivia question, because we've had some loyal viewers. They've been tuned in since the very second that we started this interview. And I think it's time to reward a winner. So what we're going to do, it's like I always do on all my interviews. I've got a pre-set up trivia question that I'm going to pop up on the screen and read it. And then I will be the judge of who the first person to answer this correctly. Now, I will say, you mentioned earlier in part of the interview that there are a couple of different dates. Okay. So this, yes. And this could potentially snag a few people or trip up a couple of people. So read the question carefully and make sure you answer, because you only get one correct answer, right? You only get one answer. You can't guess multiple times. So make sure before you answer with some sound thought process here. So here's the question. Paddle giveaway trivia question. When did Electrum Pickleball officially form as a pickleball company? Is it A, October of 2017, B, January of 2018, C, November of 2018, or D, February of 2019? So that is the 4 multiple choice questions. While we continue to talk, and I'm going to ask you a few more questions, I'm going to allow the viewers to start answering that in the comments. And once we get a winner, I'll post that up there and we'll congratulate them on that. So also, go ahead. Good luck, he said. Also, if and when we have the winner, I will have them message you, Moheeth, privately to give you their address and all that kind of stuff on the back end. Okay.
We're excited to get it to them.
Fantastic. So while we're waiting for a winner, I'm going to go ahead and ask my next good question for you, which is, we're seeing a lot of new businesses trying to get a slice of the pickleball gold rush, if you will. What is your advice to the folks out there looking to get into the pickleball business, or a company that's recently gotten into the pickleball space, and how can you give them some well-needed advice?
Totally. I'm grateful that you even think me qualified to answer this question. I would focus on the intent of why. I think that is the most important question for me personally when I think of doing a business, or frankly putting my time into anything, is that why am I doing this? So my advice would be that if you want to have a powerful journey and one that resonates with the pickleball audience, have a very good answer to why. And don't just get into it because you think that, oh, the sport's growing and Google searches are trending and I can maybe get a little slice of this and make some money. Those are outcomes. Making money and being financially successful are outcomes of having a strong reason as to why you got into this. And I think the most important reason that I don't mind any other paddle manufacturer or apparel manufacturer or other type of pickleball business using is being an asset and aid to this community, giving them more ways to enjoy the game, giving them more ways to improve their game, giving them more options to play. Like, I think Chicken and Pickle is a very good example of a wonderful pickleball business, because you get to be an extremely social food and beverage environment, but also enjoy the game that you love so much. And I think that they've had such great success because it's that great, unique offering to the community. And so, is your offering unique? Is your intention right? And do you have the drive to give it everything you've got? And I think the third one to key in on, it must be backed by research. It must be backed by dedication, and you have to have perseverance. And I think that that is not to just a pickleball business or venture, but to any other venture. It's easy to think of something that's growing fast and identify a potential way for you to make money quickly. And that is a reason why a lot of businesses kickstart, because they think that they can get financial returns very quickly or very easily. But I will just correct that notion that nothing in business is easy or quick, frankly. And have patience and have that perseverance and that drive to continue to invest in your business. And everything that we've generated from Electrum, we've put it right back in, because we are thinking about it in the long term. and we're thinking about our resources as something that can be deployed to benefit the community, and that is through making great products. And that's our first way of supporting and helping the community, by giving them products that help improve their game. Yeah, I guess to summarize, have a good intent, provide something that's unique, and something that the player really wants. And that's where the research comes in. And then thirdly, the dedication and the perseverance and the long-term thinking, and don't be short-minded or short-term thinking about it. And I think if you capture those three things in your thesis or your philosophy for the pickleball business, then I think you'll have every success of succeeding. And I guess one fourth thing I will add to that, now that I'm thinking about it, is the community is what will help you. That's what helped us get to where we are today. We were nobodies. We were up against competition that had been incumbents for years. And the warmth of that community is the reason why we've had success. So engage with the community, and when they hear how you're out there to help them, they will help you in turn, and it will be one of the key ingredients to your success.
Gosh, I just love hearing you talk about the reasons behind what you do. I think it's important, man, when people want to invest in a company, meaning buy your paddle or buy your apparel or your gear or just support you. It's important for them to know the foundation on which you proceed forward. And you can just listen to you, Moheeth, and know that you're going places with this. I mean,
you just like me, Scott.
I mean, I might be a little biased because you guys love the same colors that I do, but no, I listen to you talk, and there are very few people that come on to my Golden Boy Pickleball show who goes into such depth and can elaborately describe answers to questions like you do. And I believe that's one of the unique characteristics about you personally, not Electrum, right? Electrum is your company, but I believe you were this way before you started Electrum only a year or so ago. And so I just think that you're just one of those special people in life that I've been honored and privileged to get to know. And I feel completely honored to have a brilliant mind like yourself on my show.
Hey, thank you, Scott. And that's very, very nice of you to say, and I really appreciate the compliments. I will also take the opportunity to accredit a lot of what I have to say to my partner, Mike. So Mike's one of my best friends. He's one of the reasons why I got into this sport, and hopefully one day you can interview both of us together. But when we were thinking about how to, structure our responses or phrase our message, he's been a key component along the way. So I have the benefit of a great co-founder, a great partner. And so again, going back to your previous question of what can you do to be successful in the pickleball business, if you decide to get into it, have a great partner and surround yourself by a great team. So anything that I'm able to say to you today, Scott, is because I have the support of a great team and a great network. And yeah, I'm glad that you think that what I do have to say is of benefit and of interest.
Absolutely. I always try to bring people on my show who I feel are going to bring value to the pickleball community. These interviews aren't about me. These are about the people that I bring on. And so when I bring somebody onto the show, I want to make sure that they bring something of value to the community, and that you do. And it's bigger than just Electrum Pickleball, even though that's what we're talking about today and that's what this interview is about. I do believe that you are one of the key components, and your partner, Mike, as well, business partner there, are key components to why Electrum is going to continue to be a space in our pickleball world that we're gonna see from this point on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that brings me to the next thing, which is we're gonna announce the winner of the paddle giveaway. Now, Moheeth, if you haven't seen any of my prior interviews where I give a free paddle away or somebody gives a free paddle away on my show, you will know that there will always be some controversy. Someone will always think that they were first. So I ultimately look on my list, and I get to see on my list who the first one to answer correctly. It looked like Chris Wong or somebody guessed first. They guessed D when they were the first one on my list, but they were not the correct one. The correct answer that first threw up their answer was Natalie Hyatt, and she guessed C, which was November of 2018. Is that the correct answer? Did I get that right?
That is the right answer. It's a little bit tricky because I've talked about different dates and different milestones, but that's when we officially incorporated as a company within the state of California, and so that is the actual formation date. So Natalia, congratulations! We're so excited to get a paddle to you.
That's awesome. And Natalia, if you will message Moheeth privately on Facebook Messenger after the interview and get him all the details he needs to get that paddle shipped out, that'd be fantastic. I guarantee you, Moheeth, we will get some comments that somebody else was first, but this is the one that I saw first pop up on my side. So she is cool. The winner of the paddle. All right, let's get back to one or two more questions that I have, and then we'll wrap this thing up because I know you're a busy guy, like I said. And so I would like you to talk about the special announcement that you have in regards to what you're going to do today with the interview and who you partnered with, and tell us all about that.
Sure. The special announcement is in the effort to support all of those that have been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. And the special is around our paddle, and we are selling our paddle for a very limited time for the next 5 days, from our original price of $150 to $99.99, and every single paddle that is bought, a part of the proceeds will be donated to Feeding America. We believe that Feeding America is one of the biggest or the best causes out there, and one of the most noble institutions out there. And feeding people that don't have the resources to feed themselves right now is a mission that we feel extremely passionate about. So please, go and support not only Electrum, but the larger community that's been impacted, and buy a paddle for this special window. And one thing that I need to call out specifically is that this special is in partnership with Pickleball Central. The leaders at Pickleball Central are visionaries and community contributors themselves. And for every Electrum Pro that is actually bought through Pickleball Central, they will match every dollar that Electrum puts towards Feeding America and towards that cause. So if you want to duplicate or multiply the impact of your spend, go to pickleballcentral.com, get your paddle for a limited time at $99.99. It is a premium product that normally sells for $150, and it comes with a beautiful cover and a beautiful package, and has a guarantee for your performance, has a guarantee that you like it. You can trade it in if you don't. But if you decide to go this way, know that you will be supporting a very important cause, and we hope that as a company we can do our little part to help those in most need that have been impacted by the unfortunate pandemic that we're experiencing as a globe right now. So check that out. Again, the special starts from today, goes all the way till Friday. You can go to pickleballcentral.com, search for Electrum Pickleball. You can also go to electrumpickleball.com. You will find the same price at both of those places. You don't have to enter any code. It's already reduced for you at $99.99. Get to take advantage of our great special price for this limited time, and feel good about the fact that your money will also be helping feed people most in need. So please support us, support the larger community, and get a paddle.
I love it. One of the questions from the viewers, I think it was Lynn, she asked, does the $99 include free shipping, or is there shipping on top of that? That's the question she had.
So I think that Pickleball Central does. I am not exactly sure, and I don't want to be inaccurate in what I say. So Pickleball Central handles shipping the way they regularly do. And I think that if you've shopped from there before, then you're familiar with their setup. We do have free shipping on electrumpickleball.com. But I would say go to both places and see what's the best out there. Obviously, if you go to Pickleball Central, then you have that added benefit of doubling the amount donated to Feeding America. I think they're free shipping, and if you give me a second, actually, I can just answer this question more accurately. So just give me a second, Scott,
And
sure. And while you're doing that, I was going to take a minute to thank Pickleball Central for their sponsorship of the show today. They are a fantastic company. If you haven't seen the YouTube video of how they got started in business and then how they've seen significant growth in the sport since they started their inception, I would encourage you guys to go watch that. It is a fantastic video, and it gives some real background and insight into their company and what they're all about. I don't know all the partners within the Pickleball Central business, the people that run it and own it, but I will tell you that they are, if you're just now getting around pickleball, you're going to see Pickleball Central on almost every major event, and they're a part of the fabric of pickleball. So I do want to give them a huge shout out and thank them for the sponsorship.
And I just checked, Scott. In fact, they are free shipping as well. So Lynn, to answer your question directly, you can go to both Pickleball Central or electrumpickleball.com. Same deal in both places, obviously, with Pickleball Central, because they're being a great partner and believe in and passionate about feeding America as well. You may want to go there, but either place, go check it out and claim that special.
I love it. I am so thankful for your time, Moheeth. I personally could talk to you all day long. I'm sure we could talk about a numerous amount of things, but let's go ahead and kind of wrap this interview up. I know about the 1.5 hour mark is usually where people start to fade on us a little. But is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap this interview up?
I want to say thank you, Scott. I think you are such a visionary in the space by producing content that thousands of people around the country and soon the world get to listen to, learn about pickleball from, interact with different key members of the community that they potentially wouldn't get access to otherwise. So thank you for being such a great support to businesses like myself, to other players and businesses out there. You are also one of those key members of the fabric of the Pickleball Society. And so we're very grateful for having me again, on your show. Message to the larger community, stay strong. This is a difficult time for all of us, but together we can come out of it together, and for the better. So be hopeful, be optimistic. If you can help those in need and you are in that fortunate position to help others, please do that. The additive resources are much more powerful than our individual ones. So that's my message to the larger community. And, just keep looking at your calendar for when you can get back onto the courts, because I know you're all anxious to resume playing and be with your friends again. And that time is soon. And we will be there to meet you when that happens.
Moheeth, thanks so much for your time. You brought great value to the pickleball community today. And everybody, please like, share, and just be a part of what we're doing here with this. I think it needs to get out to as many people as we can so that they can participate in that Pickleball Central thing that they're doing. So, Moheeth, have a great afternoon, buddy. All right, guys, that was a wrap. Thank you so much to Moheeth and Electrum Pickleball, all the people that are part of their team. Thank you guys for participating and being interactive. I love interacting with the pickleball community. That's one of the big reasons that I do these interviews. It's for you guys. It's for the people that I bring on to give value to the pickleball community, also to get their company and their names out there. I do a combination of interviewing pro athletes in our sport, anywhere from the very top, like Ben Johns and Kyle Yates and Tyson McGuffin and those type of players, all the way down to some of the up-and-coming guys who are coming on the scene, the players like Gabriel Joseph, who I recently interviewed, who happens to be a sponsored player with Electrum. That was just a total coincidence, actually, that we interviewed him right before this one. And also, I just want to thank everybody for just sticking in there, tuning in, being super troopers. I would encourage you to go to my YouTube page, which is Golden Boy Pickleball. Subscribe to my YouTube Pickleball page. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I try to create content that's valuable. I try to bring you guys some humor and some funny videos. And so definitely go subscribe if you're not a subscriber of Golden Boy Pickleball. But again, only subscribe if you feel that there's value there and that you can get something out of that. But Anyway, thanks again to Moheeth and everybody that joined us. I'm going to wrap this interview up, and I just want you guys to know that I appreciate each and every one of you. For anybody that didn't win the paddle, please tune in next time, as we'll be giving away, I'm sure, another paddle or something of value to you guys once again. So awesome. Take care. Thanks again, Team Electrum, for all that you guys do. Continue to be people who strive for greatness, and I look forward to seeing everybody at the next big tournament that we have. I'm getting word that it could be in August, the PPA tournament. I think it's in California. I can't remember the exact city, but I'll post that. But look that up. It's going to be in August, and I might just book a flight and go out there to be a part of that. So hope to see you guys there if that does in fact happen. Thanks.